Good.
Welcome back to the AFC East show, guys. We had some interesting weeks coming up this over the past couple days or so. You've got me, you've got Tyler, you've got Jessica, and you've got Keith. So without any further ado, let's hit the music. All right, guys, let's see how everybody's feeling tonight. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good personally.
Okay, very good. And professionally?
Well, my job's going great. I'm really having a good time. It was a pretty relaxing day. Today was pretty relaxing. Monday was pretty busy, so I'm glad that today I got to relax and
That's nice.
really
How's your fandom doing?
Well, I think we'd call this one meeting expectations. Which in the past meant Super Bowls, obviously. But, these days the expectations are slightly lower, unfortunately.
Understood. Keith, how you feeling, buddy?
About the Dolphins? Not very good.
Let's talk about you first. We can build up to the Dolphins.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Got a new car, got a new computer, got the new setup going tonight. So pretty pumped about that. And but as far as the Dolphins go, not a huge fan of what I've seen lately.
Understood. Jessica, I have seen you on a couple of the other shows before. You're obviously always in the chat. Please tell us, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing wonderful. Had a girlfriend come over earlier today. We hung out and, we drank and talked and it was a good time. And our fandom is awesome right now.
I bet. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. I'm doing perfectly fine, to be honest with you. Had a great workout. Now I'm just finished shoveling a salad down my throat, and here I am representing the New York Jets. Since we're going to talk about football real quick, let's go ahead and start off with this weekend's, or the most recent game that we had this weekend, Monday Night Football. Jessica, you guys utterly destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that game to start off?
I think it was a total demolition of the Jaguars. The offense, defense, special teams, everything worked for us. We have the best depth in the AFC East as far as I'm concerned. If anybody goes out, I think we can plug and play. We have great backup type tackles, great backup guards, backups on defense in every position. And that's where our strength is right now.
All right. So one of the things that I noticed that happened immediately, you guys scored touchdowns on your first 4 drives.
First 5 drives.
First 5 drives. I turned the game off after a while. I tried to watch the Cincinnati game, but that was also kind of miserable to watch as well. That's a completely separate issue. We won't get into them, but
it's almost like the playoff game against the New England Patriots.
They win one game and they all of a sudden forget that we dominated them. We won 30 games out of 33 games with Tom Brady over the course of 20 years. But the moment they get one thing up, it's like, oh, we're so much better than you guys. Sorry. How many banners have you hung that actually say Super Bowl champions?
Tyler, let it go. This is just his night, okay?
I'm sorry.
This is why I'm here. Because
your team is very good and my team is very
and Jake
bad.
Did not want to come here and gloat too much tonight.
Oh God. All right. So Jessica, yes, you guys absolutely dominated. You said you scored touchdowns on your first 5 drives. It was absolutely Trevor Lawrence looked debilitated. I was joking in the Discord chat that they were just gonna fire Doug Peterson and not let him back on the team playing back home that night.
You mean do it Urban Meyer?
Oh God, no! Urban Meyer, what Doug Peterson would get was caught giving the stinky pinky to a girl at a Hooters that night. No, that wasn't going to happen. That game was absolutely abusive. It was terrible. You guys probably, I couldn't. Every time I turned around, the Bills were having another 8-play drive right down the field. It was miserable. Every dump off, every screen pass was going for 9 yards. they couldn't stop they couldn't stop a nosebleed last night, and it was terrible. And you guys took advantage of it, and hats off.
And part of that is that nobody has a book on Joe Brady's offense right now.
That's fair.
And that's why you get always that sophomore slump. Usually, you get a quarterback, you get an OC or a head coach, they get a good offense going, but next year they have a book. And that's what Bill Belichick was famous for, was taking advantage of new offenses.
That's true. That's true. Are you at all concerned about strength of schedule? Because let's be honest, the record against the Bills so far for opponents is like 2-7. Like, you guys have not exactly.
Three of those wins are from the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of those losses. Okay, we'll take those out. But like, the wins outside of that are, you guys played a team like the Dolphins that were. I mean, once Tua was out, the game was over. The game was over pretty early on, though.
The game was over before Tua left.
Yeah, but once he left, it was really, really over. You played the Dolphins team that was debilitated at best. You played a Cardinals team that you were always supposed to win, and a Jacksonville team that, you were probably always favored to win, even if they were like at their full stride. Are you at all concerned about your what you've got to face going forward?
Oh, of course. Baltimore has a great quarterback, has a great head coach. Yes, be worried about Baltimore.
Okay.
I'm a little bit less worried about the Texans. Everybody has a book out on Shroud at this point from last year. So that's an advantage for the Bills. And the best game is going to be at Monday night at the MetLife, or is it Sunday night at MetLife?
I think I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that one's coming up. That's going to be in my opinion. I mean, the Vikings look terrifying right now, so that game looks like it's going to be real. But that's
in England, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in London. It's which is always a wonky game, to be honest with you. Nobody's very well rested on those games. It's a 9:00 game because it's London, so that's my favorite. We get it out of the way at the beginning of Sunday, and then I can have the rest of my day moping. And so
they have Sam Darnold, who's been christened the God Emperor quarterback of the United States.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep on Sam Darnold for sure. But yeah, no, he has looked amazing. That's what happens when you have Justin Jefferson, it turns out.
I'm really happy with our defensive backs at this point.
Yeah,
you guys drop off from our safeties, our White being gone, and Taron Johnson being out. Matt
I genuinely think
and Bernard.
It was an improvement. I think usually you find that like when you move on from the old guys and you trust your coaches to develop, like you can actually make that up pretty quickly. And it looks like you guys have. Brentford.
Yes, and that's the strength of the Buffalo Bills right now, is developing players from late in the draft.
Yeah.
They had that thing on the TV last night, round 6, round 7, undrafted. Are all starting and playing for the Buffalo Bills in that secondary.
Playing very well for sure. All right. Now that you've had your fun, let's go ahead and go to Keith. He's not feeling the best, I don't think. Tell me a little bit about your emotions right now, Keith.
Well, it was a listless, uninspired, undisciplined performance against the Seattle Seahawks, especially offensively. They couldn't get anything going, and part of the blame does fall on Skylar Thompson, who's been there for 3 years. He knows the system. He should have been better, but I would say the majority of the blame falls on Mike McDaniel. Just a bad game plan altogether. And you're not playing to Skylar Thompson's strengths. Like, Skylar Thompson has a great arm. That's the main thing that you look at when you see Skylar Thompson. He's got a great arm. And what did Mike McDaniel do? He threw the ball 5 yards down the field. Skylar Thompson's numbers were 13 for 19 for 107 yards, 5.6 average. That's atrocious, especially for a guy like Skylar Thompson, who, again, his main asset is he has a howitzer attached to his right arm. So some of the blame here has to fall on Mike McDaniel. We'd be remiss if we didn't put Mike McDaniel's feet to the fire for this, but also, to further that, there was a litany of penalties by the Dolphins that were undisciplined penalties. They were illegal formation penalties. They were false starts, stuff like that. You can kind of justify like a holding penalty because that's in the heat of the moment. You can justify an illegal contact or a pass interference, but these pre-snap penalties where guys just don't know where to line up, that's a lack of accountability. That's my biggest problem with Mike McDaniel right now is that the Dolphins are not a disciplined football team. They're actually the least disciplined football team I've ever seen. These illegal procedure penalties, these illegal formation penalties are absolutely killer, especially when there's even less margin for error because they're missing Tua. So we look at these illegal formation penalties, these illegal procedures, guys like Julian Hill out there, backup tight end that, keeps on getting snaps. And yeah, he's a good blocker, but where is the accountability? Mike McDaniel's known as a player's coach, and I respect that. I don't think that the Bill Parcells, Vince Lombardi, military dictator style works on NFL players these days. So I think all coaches have to be a player's coach to an extent, but Mike McDaniel might take it to the extreme, and you have to start putting these guys' feet to the fire. Julian Hill lines up not on the line of scrimmage when he should be on the line of scrimmage or off the line of scrimmage. Julian Hill gets a penalty. Okay, you're sitting for the rest of the quarter. You're sitting for the rest of the half. That's all there is to it. There are problems offensively went beyond scheme. It was just a listless performance. Tyreek Hill dropping footballs. Jalen Waddle had 4 receptions for 26 yards. 2 of those receptions came in the first drive.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bad performance. I should point out, though, the defense looked good. The defense actually performed well against Seattle Seahawks. Aside from one zone coverage against DK Metcalf, I was proud of the defense for holding up.
How much do you – I mean, I know that you're talking about as a listless performance, and you look at the stats. I wouldn't watch that much of the game, but like, how much do you attribute to that, and how much do you attribute to the fact that the Seattle Seahawks have one of the best defenses in the NFL this year? I mean, Mike, what is it, McDonald? Yes, McDonald. Yeah. Mike McDonald is their new head coach, and he has brought over the system from Baltimore. They're taking advantage of, in my opinion, one of the top 3 or 4 best cornerback duos in the NFL right now with Witherspoon and Tyreek Woolen. They're getting a pass rush that's hitting. They've drafted 2 second-round pass rushers in the last 2 years or so. Derek Hall last year and the year before. They drafted Boye Mafe out of, I think it was Minnesota, another really good edge rusher. Those 2 dudes are getting home. This year they drafted in the first round my boy, Byron Murphy, out of Texas. Like, they are getting home, and they have good coverage. Like, I know with Tua it would have been better, but this was never going to be an easy matchup.
No, it was never going to be an easy matchup, and this was always a matchup where you had to kind of look at the Seahawks and say, with Tua, it's a coin toss. Without Tua, it probably wasn't going to be a win, but they could have looked better while losing. They could have put up more than 3 points. Skylar Thompson could have thrown for more than 107 yards. They could have attempted more than 18 rushes. Devon Achane had 11 carries for 30 yards.
That's
Jalen Wright, and then the next ball carrier was Jalen Wright for 2 for 17. Running the ball should be their bread and butter, especially with Tua out, and they abandoned it. And the game wasn't really out of hand until the fourth quarter. This is a good Seahawks team. I'm not taking anything away from them, but this was still a game the Dolphins could have won had they have made better decisions. They went for fourth a bunch of times. They went for it on 4th down a bunch of times.
The game was 17-3 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
You're going to
it's still 17-3 in the fourth quarter, Anthony.
Oh, for sure, but you're still
held up their end of the bargain. The Dolphins had a chance. The Dolphins intercepted Geno Smith inside twice. One time was inside the 5, and they came away empty-handed.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And you're going for it on 4th down with Skylar Thompson as your quarterback. They weren't very good on 4th down with Tua as their quarterback. Now you're doing it with Skylar. I understand you're trying to light a spark under these guys, but points are going to be hard to come by for as long as Tua is out. Take the points, move on, and try and make this a closer game. I reiterate, this was a winnable game for the Dolphins, but if they would have gotten out of their own way.
Okay. Well, I mean, we're going to agree to disagree whether or not this is like a winnable game with a Skylar Thompson at quarterback, but where do you see this team going forward over the next 4, 8, maybe even the rest of the season if you don't have Tua? Like how bad does it get?
It has the potential to get pretty bad. I mean, Skylar Thompson did get hurt in this game, and then we got a Tim Boyle sighting, and Tim Boyle actually looked better.
I know something about Tim Boyle.
Yeah, you do.
Ask me anything you want to know about Tim Boyle. I'll give you answers.
Yeah.
What's his mother's maiden name?
Don't you have?
Now, Tim Boyle famously started against the Dolphins last year on Black Friday and threw that Hail Mary right to Javon Holland. Javon Holland took it back for 6. Not Tim Boyle's fault.
Oh, that one? Yeah, I think I remember
these
that
things
one.
happen. But Tim Boyle came in after Skylar Thompson's injury.
They happen to the New York Jets. They don't happen to other football teams.
But Tim Boyle came in. He was 7 for 13 for 79 yards. He looked better. He had the Dolphins' offense moving at the very least, whereas Skylar Thompson, it was a standstill.
I mean, you guys
But again,
who's your other backup? Isn't it Mike White? Don't you have Mike White on the practice?
No, Mike White's on the Bills now. Actually, we cut him.
Yeah,
we cut him at the end of the preseason in favor of Skylar Thompson.
Around the AFC East too.
Yeah, in favor of Skylar Thompson, we cut Mike White, and Mike White ended up with the Bills. We also picked up Snoop Huntley, the formerly known as Tyler Huntley, off of the Ravens practice squad.
Okay. When he said Snoop Huntley, I was like, is he somebody?
He was our emergency third quarterback in this game. There are some Dolphins fans, some on my channel, the Fins Forecast, who will be advocating for Snoop Huntley to start this coming Sunday.
Okay.
So, stay tuned for that. Our show's tomorrow night. You guys can check that out. But that was a shameless plug, wasn't it?
No, it's plenty of. There's no shame in that at all.
There wasn't. That's true.
Dolphins need to. It's all about discipline for me.
Okay.
Play disciplined, smart football, and good things will come. Especially with the talent you still have on this roster. You still have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. You still have Devon Achane, Jalen Wright. Raheem Mostert's working his way back. There's still plenty of talent on this offense, but you got to get out of your own way. You can't just give up 5 yards to the defense when you're starting quarterbacks out.
Keith,
that's just bad for business.
Is it too early for you to start scouting quarterbacks for next year?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. 'Cause we don't know what Tua's future is. We have no idea what Tua's future is. And I'm sure the Dolphins, in true Dolphin fashion, will wait until the very last minute to tell us what Tua's future is.
Okay.
But, for the time being, we don't know. And so, yeah, we need to start scouting quarterbacks. We need to start scouting. We need to scout offensive linemen. Our offensive line it's a disaster. And when I say Skylar Thompson, his yards per throw was 5.6 yards. Was 5.6 yards. That's partially due to the offensive line just getting handled by that admittedly very good Seattle defensive line, but also our offensive line is just really bad. Teron Armstead's hurt again. Surprise, surprise. We had a Patrick Paul sighting on Sunday because Austin Jackson had to miss a little time, so Kendall Lamb, our swing tackle, had to move over to the right side. It's getting bad in Miami. So, we have the Patriots in a couple weeks. Let's hope that's a victory. And but this week we have the Titans.
That's naughty. That's
and
naughty right there.
We'll get into that. But the Titans game coming up, another winnable game. So
yeah, maybe. I mean, Will Levis is a gift to us.
Yes, he is. He is. He's a gift to defenses. So hope is not lost, and we will see how things look after Monday.
All right. I look forward to hearing some of your scouting reports on some of the quarterbacks coming up over the next few weeks or so. I feel like that's your homework. All right, Tyler, my man. Tell me about it. How you feeling? Tell me a little bit about this Jets game. What happened?
It was pretty good. I think that coming into the season, we expected the Patriots offense to be pretty bad, and we expected other teams to be pretty good, like the Miami Dolphins. They had Tua and they had Tyreek Hill and they had Jalen Waddle and a lot of really good weapons. And despite all that, the disparity between these two teams, I'm proud to say that on Thursday, the Patriots went out and they scored as much as the Dolphins did this week, which I think is a really good sign for the Patriots going forward. Our offense has come a long way this season. We started out, we only got 16 against the Bengals, but now we're matching the Dolphins, and I think that makes me feel really good going forward.
Do you think you have a shot at number 3 in the division this year?
I mean, if Tua misses some time, I think we actually might, and that's not good because we need a good draft pick. I want number 3 overall and a left tackle. Ideally, is what we look at. In real terms, I think that this game is not really a surprise. It's like I said last week, was that you'd know probably within the first quarter or two if it was going to be competitive or if it was just going to be done. And I think when I was watching the game at the first touchdown, I felt like it's probably not going to go very well for the Pats. They're already allowing a touchdown. It's not really our type of game. And then when it was made 14-0, it was done already, in my opinion. Okay. I don't think the team's good enough to come back from 14-0 at any point in the game.
You're not built for that, Tyler.
No, not at all.
No. Are there any positives? Tell me if there are any positives on your side from the New England Patriots.
Well, I think that it's. I was going to say it's good that they have Jacoby Brissett out there still, but they decided to put out Drake May in the last 4 minutes of the game. And this, Drake May, I think, has a lot of potential, but there's not really anything I want to take away from that series because the offensive line just is still so bad. Yeah. I don't want to see Drake May again this season. I want him to just sit on the bench and to not get tackled by 300-pound defensive linemen.
Yeah,
that is my utmost wish.
My heart was in my throat when they just kept collapsing the pocket on him, and he just kept getting back up. At the same time, you had Jacoby Brissett doing his best Rocky Balboa.
Yeah,
he was getting knocked down, man. He was like, Adrian.
Just
the bell. It was
on the defensive
bad.
side. I think the defense still looks okay. Still looks like a good defense. It's just you put the defense out there the whole game, you can't score any points, and eventually a couple breaks, and it's just not going to work out very well.
I talk about it all the time. You leave a defense out there for too many plays, especially too many plays in a row, and any defense is going to start to give up yards. It's just how it is. We saw that in 2019 is the best example of that for the Patriots, at least, because our defense in 2019 was historically good for a long time. Yeah. But the offense just continually degraded. Even with Brady, it just wasn't enough. The best weapon they had that year was half limping Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, who N'Keal Harry is just not a good receiver in any way. Yeah.
So
Harry could never figure out how to get separation.
No. And the one time it looks like, it's been going to the past now, but the one time in 2019, it looked like he might turn the corner. He had this really clutch touchdown against Kansas City. The officials called him out of bounds, despite there clearly being a strip of green about this big between his foot and the out of bounds, and the white. And after that was just it.
Yeah, no, he's never. I think he might still be in the NFL, but just barely clinging on to a practice spot.
He switched to tight end this year, I think.
Supposedly, I heard. Nobody knows. He's never been seen since. So
yeah,
we're gonna talk a little bit.
I have a question.
How do you? Yeah.
Doesn't your struggles with the offensive line mirror when the old offensive line coach retired?
Not precisely. The offensive line has been getting worse for a while now. Last year was decent, I think. Last year, offensive line wasn't terrible. After injuries, it was kind of bad. But even then, it was only below average, average to below average. But they just didn't invest any resources in it this offseason.
Jessica's not wrong, though, when she points out the fact that you guys used to draft offensive linemen out of literally anywhere. Dante Scarnecchia would turn them into passable, into good, into sometimes excellent offensive linemen. And
Yeah,
that's
but
hasn't been the case since you left.
But we're still kind of doing it. Mike Onwenu was drafted after Skarnakia left, if memory serves me, and he still came out pretty good. So I think we're still capable of doing that. It's just we're not really drafting the offensive lineman that I think Skarnakia would. So I guess maybe it's like a drafting thing as well.
But
Okay.
you drafted Strange, didn't you?
The draft was weird this year.
It was a strange pick, wasn't it?
It was a strange pick.
That Cole Strange pick. Bill was, trying to get ahead of everything, and it just wasn't the same. Just didn't work out this time. The offensive line was still pretty decent in 2021, 2022. They just aren't. They just didn't try this offseason to invest in it, frankly, and it's kind of annoying.
Understood. They did invest a bit in the wide receivers. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's for a future thing, obviously, for Drake May going forward. Do you have any concerns that Jacoby Brissett might actually just die on the field and then Drake May will have to play for the rest of the year? Or
I think that's a non-zero concern. But Jacoby Brissett, luckily, he's a pretty tough guy. He's played injured. He's a team player, so it'll take a lot to get Jacoby Brissett off the field.
Understood.
So I think he can tough it out. And not every team's going to be good with their pass rush. The Jets have a pretty good pass rush. Not every team does. So
hold on, say that again louder. I want to hear it again.
The Jets have a pretty good pass rush.
Okay, just checking. All right. Well, from my perspective, I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. The Jets are not at peak form yet. They have been getting a little bit better. Week 1, you saw flashes of Aaron Rodgers looking like Aaron Rodgers. Week 2, it looked a little bit better. It was still a bit of a struggle, especially for the first half. This game, Aaron Rodgers looked like Aaron Rodgers. You saw the running around, the scrambling, getting outside the pocket, making stuff happen. The back shoulder lasers were absolutely there. And Allen Lazard looked like he learned how to catch a football between week 1 and week 3. That was amazing. Just took Aaron Rodgers just dusting it off, and all of a sudden he's a guy.
Well, he actually probably just stopped listening to whatever Nathaniel Hackett was saying. He was like, no, actually.
It's 100% at this point that it's his offense. If you noticed, they scored on the first drive. I don't think it was Nathaniel Hackett scripting that. I think it was just Aaron Rodgers saying, "I'm going to do it myself. I'm tired of this."
Yeah,
I was watching the movie Major League, but it felt like the "F you, Jobu, I'll do it myself" moment.
I was watching that drive, and I was like, Anthony said in the show that the first drive was going to be useless because it was Nathaniel Hackett, and then they were just pinging the ball down the field. And
yeah, but that didn't feel like Nathaniel Hackett drive at all. There weren't run on first down. It wasn't just And I'll say this. We lost our right tackle, Morgan Moses, and thank God we drafted Olu Fashanu in the first round. He came right in and looked fine. Looks like we're going to be without Morgan Moses for a little bit, maybe at least 4 weeks, they say. I feel great about Olu Fashanu getting in there. He's been fantastic. That was my offensive tackle number 1 going into the year, and that hasn't changed. Braylon Allen, our backup running back, he looked excellent. That dude just stomps on people's heads. I cannot be more excited about that being our backup to Breece Hall. Like I said, the receivers are starting to come around. You're still seeing some miscommunications between Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. They are not on that psychic level that Aaron Rodgers was with Devontae, but you see it starting to come alive. He started to hit Tyler Conklin. That offense isn't as good as it's going to get, but it's getting better. It's starting to look scary. That pass rush is fantastic. Hassan Reddick, if he hasn't already fired his agent, he should have fired his agent after this last week. They've got no leverage left. It's over.
No. So here's what I think is a proper punishment for Hassan Reddick's agent, right?
Please.
He should have to play quarterback for the New England Patriots.
There you go. That's solid, Tyler. I like it.
Yeah. And that way, we can have an extra line of defense between the field and Drake May. So it really works for us too.
That's creative. I think if he has to play for the New England Patriots, it should be against the second game for the Jets. And he has to suffer that pass rush himself.
I was really hoping you spat out your drink, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, that was good timing by you. Thank you.
You very nearly
almost all over my keyboard. So well done for you. You've got the quick one-liners. I'll give you that. You're just sharp that way.
Very close.
All right. I don't want to get into next week's matchup just yet. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about that they've seen over the past couple of weeks or so in the NFL that any storylines they see brewing, anything interesting coming around? Because I feel like we've learned a lot from the NFL. In fact, I'll give you guys a second and I'll go first. Holy cow, the Cincinnati Bengals stink. Can anybody explain this to me? This was a Super Bowl contender going into the year, and they can't seem to connect on offense. They can't stop anybody on defense. The team looks uninspired most of the games that they're playing in. I can't quite figure it out. Joe Burrow's magic isn't there.
I mean, the Bengals typically look bad to start off the year, though. I just think normally they
look bad starting last year because Joe Burrow was hurt. That was the explanation before. He hurt his calf and he missed a chunk of the season and things weren't great or whatever. But there's no explanation for this one aside from T. Higgins didn't want to play and then Jamar Chase wants a new contract. But both of those guys are on the field.
It's an arrogant team. I think the Bengals are a very arrogant team. They overlooked the Patriots. They geared up for the Chiefs, and they weren't ready for the Commanders. They shot their wad against the Kansas City Chiefs defensively. They probably were hurting, gave it all, and weren't ready for what the Commanders had for them.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Maybe there's something to be said about the contract situation, right? Where you're not paying Jamar Chase, and there's a chance that's having an effect on his mentality, but also maybe the team's mentality of how things are going to work. So that could also be factoring in where, players are looking at it and they're like, yeah, maybe I don't play my hardest. I mean, it's not like it's going to make much of a difference.
Well, they're making business decisions out there.
Yeah, that's what they put. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's the reason. I actually disagree with Jessica. I don't find them to be arrogant. I just think that I think first off, they're notoriously slow starters. I also think that defensively, they've lost a lot of talent. They lost Jesse Bates a couple years ago. Henderson isn't playing up to speed. Their offense wasn't the problem last night. It was their defense not being able to stop. It was their defense not being able to stop Jaden Daniels. There were no punts in that game last night. No punts whatsoever. No punts, no turnovers. So this is not, this is not a Bengals team that, we're not talking about them being anemic offensively the way the Dolphins are, or, Joe Burrow not being able to, get past his injury history, or even Jamar Chase and T. Higgins came back for this game. Those guys not being able to get open and make plays for them. This is a defensive issue. When they needed stops against the Patriots in week 1, Ramondre Stevenson just ran right over them, just bullied them through the line, bullied them to victory. This is a team, they're flawed. But I think they're going to be fine offensively. They just need to find a defensive identity.
Okay. Well, no, I don't disagree with anything that you just said. There's something to Jessica's point of view, though, with them being kind of an arrogant team and feeling like they can get themselves back out of anything. That perhaps seems like it might be a little bit in there, too. That doesn't necessarily go against what you were saying, because I do think the specifics of their defense isn't especially, at least physical this year. They seem to be missing that presence of having the ability to assert themselves on teams like they could in the past.
Yeah.
Because even that first game in New England, they beat up Jacoby Brissett pretty hard, and he kept getting back up, doing his best Rocky Balboa, and then, like you said, Ramondre Stevenson was walking on top of him.
Yeah,
he was just not going down on first contact ever.
No.
So
that's not sustainable for over the course of an entire season. But in week 1, Ramondre Stevenson ran like he was mad at the grass.
Yeah,
and that Bengals team, they just didn't have an answer for it, and they didn't have an answer for Jaden Daniels last night. And also, to Jaden Daniels' credit, he played out of his freaking mind. The throws he was making were Aaron Rodgers-esque.
Yeah.
And I don't use that analogy lightly, because I understand how great Aaron Rodgers is at throwing the football, But
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, the one throw he made to McLaurin to seal the game,
That one was nuts.
that he was, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw him throw that ball.
Mhm.
And I thought he was just throwing it away, but no, he was dropping a dime to Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Unbelievable effort. So, we can call the Bengals, arrogant. We can call them, overrated or whatever. I think what they ran into last night was a Washington Commanders team that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
And they're starting to come together. And Jaden Daniels is starting to, and I didn't see this coming, but Jaden Daniels is really starting to look like this year's version of CJ Stroud.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far just yet. Jaden Daniels had 0 touchdown passes in week 1, 0 touchdown passes in week 2. He's taken a trillion.
Training wheels were still on. They took the training wheels off last night and see what he did.
Well, again, you were mentioning the Cincinnati defense isn't especially strong. The only strong defense they played against was Tampa Bay, and they scored only 20 points in that game. They scored 21 against a very weak Giants team. They beat up on Cincinnati. They caught them a little bit sleeping. Before we start putting CJ Stroud on a quarterback that has 2 touchdown passes in 3 games, let's give him a couple more weeks.
The Vikings.
The storylines.
The Vikings are good.
Yeah. Talk about Sam Darnold. Yeah, I'll give you a second, Tyler.
Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold started his career in New Jersey, really.
I don't remember damn Arnold. I don't.
Yeah, Sam Darnold with the New Jersey Jets. And there was kind of a stench there. He had Adam Gase as a coach.
There's something about ghosts. I heard. I don't know some ghost stories about Sam Darnold.
Bill Belichick is obviously a bit of a necromancer, so that kind of was a little. He was a little afraid of that. And the combination of Adam Gase being, googly-eyed man, and Bill Belichick kind of ruined his career a little bit. And he's been bouncing around a bit, but now he's gotten to the Vikings, and they're obviously
Adam Gase.
No, there's no Adam Gase with the Vikings, luckily.
Okay.
But the Vikings have probably some sort of ritual to kind of purge the spirits from him. They call up like Odin or something, and they're like, purge Sam Darnold of these terrible ghosts, and now he's amazing. He's like, they're 3-0, right?
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, they're 3-0. They're just like putting teams out, and it's amazing to watch because he's having his Geno Smith arc. Sam Darnold is.
True. I can't even fight you on that. He's having a Geno Smith arc. What are you saying when you see the Vikings now with their defensive coordinator is Brian Flores?
Yeah, Brian Flores is a good defensive. Like, he knows defense. The whole head coach thing kind of went poorly because of he just didn't want to. He wanted Herbert, and
it goes beyond that. But yeah,
well, but yeah, that was the crux of it at the time. But oh my God, does he know defense? I mean, like, he was our defensive coordinator in 2019 with that, like the one of the top 5 defenses of all time is what I would classify the Pats defense as. Like, the man knows defense, and you give him a defense. There you go.
Yeah. What are you seeing, Keith?
Oh, well, as far as the Vikings are concerned, they're looking outstanding. They're looking like the best team in the NFC right now. And let's keep this in perspective. We're a month into the season. We're less than a month into the season. So the team looks the best in September, rarely looks the best in December, January. So let's just understand that, to start out. But
Kansas City.
What's that? But even Kansas City goes through lulls where they don't look like world beaters. Even right now, they don't look great.
I'll say Kansas City does not look at their absolute peak yet, but they still
not this year. Certainly not this year, no.
But again, this Vikings team, they look dangerous. Defensively, they are tough, they are physical, and they keep teams off balance, which is the biggest thing. They to your point about Brian Flores, Tyler, he puts 8 guys on the line, and you don't know which ones are coming after the quarterback. You have no idea, and it just confuses the hell out of quarterbacks, out of offensive coordinators. Guys are being kept up at night, wondering what Brian Flores is going to be throwing at them next. It's kind of fun to watch, honestly. And I saw it in Miami, and it was fun to watch in Miami. My problem with him in Miami was that he didn't drop guys back. He just brought them all the vast majority of the time. And there's only so many times you can do that in the game and get away with it.
Right now, Jessica, we've been talking about we've been singing the praises of the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold, some guy that apparently used to play for the Jets. I can't remember him.
Yeah,
they've been doing
he
pretty good
sucked when he played for the Jets.
I think that's just.
But he's leading the
I was
league
saying,
in passing touchdowns right now.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Hey, Justin Jefferson's a hell of a receiver. He's gotten multiple.
This era is Randy Moss, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't disagree. I don't know that the styles are comparable, but he's definitely this generation's best wide receiver. He is by far this generation's best receiver. It's like if you took Odell Beckham Jr. and made him more like Terrell Owens, like just less flashy and just better at everything. That's to me the thing that I would compare Justin Jefferson to. He's just almost elastic the way he gets open. Phenomenal, fearless. The coordination for the catching, absolutely amazing. Justin Jefferson, best in the game.
And then somehow combining OBJ
and the Bills traded away that pick.
Whatever.
Yeah, they traded it for.
Traded away that pick for
Jefferson. Okay on that
Jefferson.
though. Well, there's no guarantee to pick Jefferson.
Oh yeah, but, we wanted a wide receiver, and Jefferson was on the board.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the veteran presence.
We went for Diggs and said we're not going to.
I think Diggs being a veteran though probably was better for Allen's development in the long run. So I think, I'm not sure if you'd still do the trade today, but I still think you can definitely look at it and say like the Bills didn't get fleeced or anything. The
Bills did okay on that one. They did fine. I wouldn't feel too bad about it. Steph Diggs, you got the prime years of Steph Diggs' career. He had his best years with the Bills. Great receiver for you guys. Would it be cool to have Justin Jefferson? Sure, but like there were receivers taken before and after Justin Jefferson weren't nearly as good. Like all
Jalen Reagor being one.
Jalen Reagor being the big one.
Yeah.
Anthony, I have a quick question for you though.
What do you got?
So we've seen Geno Smith do pretty good. We've seen Sam Darnold now doing pretty good.
Absolutely.
When and where do you think Zach Wilson is going to turn up again?
It's going to be later on this year when Bo Nix craps on himself one too many times. I know that Bo Nix supposedly had a great game. I watched that game. He was fine.
Yeah. Great overstatement, Anthony. It was good. It was a good game.
In comparison to every other game that he had before this, it was fine. But I would like to point out, I still don't think he has a passing touchdown on the year. He did score a touchdown rushing, which was cool, and he did take off to run a lot, but I just think that was mostly the defense wasn't prepared to watch him run, and I think the next game, teams are going to make an adjustment, and he's going to go back to being the Bo Nix we all love, which is basically Will Levis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
anyway, back to it. I think Zach Wilson will make a start by the end of I thought he was going to replace Bo Nix by probably week 9. I do think he's a decent quarterback. I think he has all the talent in the world. In the preseason, he looked like the best quarterback on the team. I fully expect Zach, if he's going to make a resurgence, it's going to be soon. And it's going to be for Sean Payton, and he's going to make it in the NFL. What have I said from the beginning? You need to develop these guys from the bench. I've been saying this for the longest time. You need to develop these guys from the bench, especially in a gigantic market like New York, where literally every incompletion gets picked apart like the guy's the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL. It takes time to learn to be a good quarterback in the NFL. It takes time. We talk about Josh Allen. Josh Allen was in his 3rd year in a market that, no offense to Buffalo, is small. He was allowed to get away with a lot of crap before he developed.
Wait. Just a second. Time out.
Go ahead.
He went 6-10 his first year.
Let's not talk about his record.
Went
He
to
has
the playoffs
barely
his
a
second
50%
year.
completion percentage.
It doesn't matter.
Four
He willed
Yes, it does.
that
Yes, it does.
team to 6-10, then went to the playoffs second year, and then broke out that third year and went to the AFC Championship game.
Okay. I'm not. There's nothing that I'm disagreeing with aside from the fact that you're ascribing wins to him to a team that like had a tier
That
one
defense, that defense was really, really good.
If I showed you that Josh Allen his first year is 52 completion or percent completion percentage, 10 passing touchdowns. 10.
It's okay.
12
And he
interceptions.
probably ran for 10.
That first year, I can tell you exactly what he did. That first year, rushing, he ran for 8 touchdowns and fumbled the ball 8 times. That second year, he fumbled the ball 14 times and threw 20 touchdowns, and it's not bad, 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
And they were beating.
We're looking at about 26 more turnovers his second year. It was his third year that he hit 69% completion percentage, which is not bad. It's really, really, really good, and it shows that he could break out. But the fact is, it took him till his third year. It takes a while with these guys to develop.
If he had done that for the Jets or the Giants, he would have run out of town, I think.
That's the thing. If he plays for the Jets or for the Giants or for the New England Patriots or for the Miami Dolphins or for the LA Rams, who, if you can remember, jettisoned Jared Goff, like these guys need time to develop, and you do it by giving them time on the bench. By sticking them out, you're doing them a disservice. And so I'm not at all surprised that Geno Smith turned it around and looks like he's a very good quarterback, or at least a good enough quarterback in the NFL. I'm not surprised at all that the number 3 overall pick, Sam Darnold, when you give him a good offensive line, a good offensive head coach, and a tier 1 set of weapons in Justin Jefferson and eventually Jordan Addison, he looks like he could be a star in his 6th year. It takes time. So if Zach Wilson looks decent with Sean Payton, I ain't going to be shocked, because he took his lumps in the NFL and now he's got a decent head coach that believes that offensive football can win football games.
And hopefully he can find a good mom out there.
Oh, dude, he's from Utah. You don't think he knows them? You don't think he knows them broads in Colorado? He's got all the games.
Actually,
he probably struggled on the East Coast because the girls are just not the same. Like these Midwestern broads,
That's why he was playing so badly at quarterback. He just couldn't quite get the same comfort.
He couldn't
motherly love
like he did. All right, guys, that's going to be our segment on New York Jets quarterbacks that are still in the NFL. Let's take a look at our
for
next.
Mike White to take Josh Allen's job.
Oh God, would you stop it? Would you stop it? No more for you from right now. I wish I could put you on timeout for 5 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our next week's matchups. Who wants to go first? Anybody? Show of hands.
Let's talk about the best game.
All right.
Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo Bills, Sunday Night Football in Baltimore. It's going to be Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, the best quarterback of that 2018 draft. No apologies to Baker Mayfield. He's just not there yet. But he's playing well. He is playing well.
He is.
Baker,
he is.
I think Tampa Bay has a great chance to win that South this year. But
that's not saying
Lamar
much.
Jackson versus Josh Allen, and I really want to give the edge to the Buffalo Bills because of the defense. The Ravens have had to replace a lot of people on that offensive line and defensive line. The Bills are a well-oiled machine right now, and they've owned the Baltimore Ravens the last 2 times they played them.
Okay.
They know how to play Lamar. They know how to play Kyler Murray. They know how to play these quarterbacks that run around, better than I think almost any other team.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about like the individual matchups on offense, because you were mentioning that the Baltimore's. You mentioned that your defense is going to be the closing factor.
They got.
How about their defense though? I mean, they're pretty okay, right?
They're okay, but they're not like they were last year. They are a step down from last year.
Okay.
What the Bills are going to do is they're going to stay in their lanes. Gregory Rousseau will be on one side. You're going to have Epinesa on the other side. And then you're going to have the two big boys, Oliver and Daquan Jones in the middle. And they're going to clog everything up. And they're going to force Lamar Jackson to make passing plays. And with how they play nickel defense all the time, that's going to be hard for Lamar to do.
You're not at all concerned about Derrick Henry, who just went for 25 for 151 and 2 touchdowns, just absolutely beating down your front, because you guys are playing a lot of nickel, lot of coverage, a lot of.
You're not concerned about Derrick Henry?
I am not concerned about Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is going to beat your
last 2 times we played the Titans. We shut him down.
The Titans aren't exactly the same.
No, but the Titans were number 1 seed when we shut them down.
The Titans were a pretty bad team for a number 1 seed that year.
Yeah,
but so Baltimore was a pretty bad seed for number 1 seed this last year. You know, they didn't do much. They haven't done much. Lamar's, I think he had his first playoff win or a second playoff win in all the time he's been at Baltimore.
Okay, so you go ahead, Tyler. Sorry.
Oh, I was just like quipping. I wasn't.
Okay.
Derrick Henry runs very upright. And if you can get him going east and south instead of north and south, or north and south, you get him going east and west, you have a great job or great chance of stopping him.
I don't disagree with that, but Baltimore's got a pretty decent interior offensive line. Their tackles are a little bit like hit and miss. They're starting to get around these days, but like that Tyler Linderbaum, Andrew Voorhees, I forget who their right guard is, but like that combination of those 3 has been about as dominant as an interior offensive line is going to get. And like I mentioned, Derrick Henry with any kind of head of steam. Dallas is a pretty good defense, and for Derrick Henry to rip them apart, I mean, they won a game where Lamar Jackson only threw the ball 15 times.
What we did to Dallas Cowboys last year, we ran all over them. It's not hard to do. They have very, very, very light linebackers, and he can push that offense or defensive line around. The secondary is very weak. The second line with the linebackers is very, very weak. That's not the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. All right. So no problem with Derrick Henry at all.
I don't think there will be.
Stopping the run, playing nickel.
Yeah. Or I think we'll get Teron Johnson back for the game. And the greatest thing that the Buffalo Bills have done in these first 3 games is built up their backups.
I don't disagree with that. None of that, but you can only play 11 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Keith.
Yeah.
How you want to go into this matchup, buddy?
The Bills and Ravens?
Yeah. No, not the Bills and the Ravens. Your matchup.
Okay, so it's Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, Miami Dolphins. Winnable football game. Will Levis is prone to those mistakes where you just think, bro.
I know why the Titans haven't had their butt fumble moment, but I feel like he's trying so hard.
Oh, he is. He really is. I remember when he threw that backward pass 2 weeks ago, and the look on his coach's face was just, you are killing me. You are absolutely killing me.
Which one? The Bears one?
The Bears. No, not the Bears one.
The fact that we have to ask which one.
Yeah. But
that's how you know it's good football watching.
But I think Will Levis did find something last week in throwing to his best wide receiver, who was not Calvin Ridley. It is DeAndre Hopkins.
Of course.
DeAndre Hopkins came back in a big way last week, and when the Titans beat the Dolphins in Miami on Monday Night Football, sound familiar? Last year, DeAndre Hopkins was the receiver that really killed them. So, hopefully for Will Levis's sake, not for the Miami Dolphins' sake, but hopefully for Will Levis's sake, he understands where his bread's buttered on that offense. Because DeAndre Hopkins, he's been ignored these first 2 weeks, and I never understood why. I know he's working his way back from a partial MCL tear, but it's but the Dolphins' defense isn't what concerns me in this game. Their defense is going to be fine. They'll give up 20, 24 points, and probably turn Will Levis over once or twice.
He averages like 3 a game, so I feel
yeah.
like
I'm going once or twice. I'm gonna be conservative about it. I can see them turning him over once or twice in this game, but what concerns me with the Dolphins in this football game is their offense. Obviously, I don't even know who's going to start on the center for them on Monday. Skylar Thompson's hurt. They say it's a chest injury. It's probably broken ribs, so we'll see if he can tough that out. If he can't, then we're looking at either Tim Boyle or Tyler Huntley. In which case, how optimistic can I be about the Dolphins' offense? Especially behind this offensive line that is not very good. So the key to this game is going to be the Dolphins' offense. The defense is going to do their part, and it's just a matter of making enough plays on offense. Mike McDaniel scheming enough plays open for the Dolphins to score enough points to win this. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I think the Dolphins are going to lose in the close. The Dolphins are probably going to lose, I'd say 24-20, 24-17.
Okay. How much solace do you have knowing that Malik Willis threw for better than 50%, 200 yards, a touchdown, and ran all over the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. But, that wasn't Malik Willis as much as it was that running game.
I saw it. It was him. It was definitely him, and he was completing passes, and I've never seen that happen before.
It was the Packers ran the ball like 50-plus times in that game and just ran wild on that Titans defense. That's what the Dolphins are going to have to do in order to score points. Take the ball out of the quarterback's hands, put the ball in Devon Achane's hands, put the ball in Jalen Wright's hands, even Jeff Wilson, give him some carries, and run it down their throats and turn this into a 60s style football game, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's how the Dolphins win this thing. So we're going to be looking at shades of Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris, R.I.P. He died this week. So R.I.P. Mercury Morris. That's what we're looking at. Okay.
All right. But you're feeling good about this game.
What's that?
You're feeling good about this game.
I'm feeling no. I don't have Tua. I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling terrible about this game. I'm feeling terrible about any game that the Dolphins don't have Tua. But this is a winnable football game. The Dolphins can get back to 500, and then on New England. This is the easy part of the Dolphins schedule. So if they have to be without Tua for any part of the season, this is the part of the season to be without him.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. No, I for me, if I were you, I would feel a little bit better knowing that like even a Malik Willis can complete over 50% against this team.
Yeah. Well,
I think you'd rather have Malik Willis than Thompson, though.
I'd rather have Malik Willis than any quarterback on the Dolphins roster other than Tua.
Totally
Tim Boyle. Whether it be Tim Boyle or Snoop Huntley or Skylar Thompson, I'd rather have Malik Willis, and he doesn't set a high bar. So that tells you what I think about the Dolphins quarterback situation right now.
Do you think if you asked very nicely, the Buffalo Bills would give you back Mike White?
No, not in a million years.
No.
I think they were laughing at us.
I don't think Mike White wants to go back.
What? That's a start. Are you kidding me? Guys want to start for professional football teams. He gets.
I think Mike White is angling to be the backup to Josh Allen.
Yeah, don't you think you'd rather
No
angle?
NFL quarterback angles to be a back, Jessica. You do want to be a starter. That being said, he lost his job to Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson looked terrible. That's disrespectful on the Dolphins' part.
I don't know if that's disrespectful. I think that does say a little bit about Mike White, the fact that he couldn't even make the backup quarterback spot.
Well, neither of them looked good in the preseason. I'll say that much. They both looked like a couple of dumpster fires in the preseason.
You're demoted to the practice squad now. Thanks, Mike. I'm just glad to be on the team. So, do you think that there's a possibility you guys could trade for a quarterback, somebody's backup that's looking good?
It depends on how these next two games go, Anthony.
Okay.
If we come out of these next two games and we're looking at 1-4, why trade for somebody's backup? Why trade assets for somebody else's backup? If we come out of these next two games and we are 3-2, 2-3, let's say for the sake of argument we're 3-2 coming out of these next two games, and we're getting some more clarity on whether or not Tua is going to come back, and Tua says, "I will be back in week 8." Then we don't trade for a backup. If we get some more clarity on Tua on whether or not Tua is going to come back, and he says, "Probably not coming back this season, maybe not at all," then maybe we look at a trade because we're 3-2 and we still have a lot of talent on this roster and there's hope. And we maybe, go after not a Mike White, but, somebody else.
Mac Jones.
Zach Wilson.
Actually, that's not out of the realm of possibility, Tyler. Like that's actually
Mac Jones is a great option for you.
Yeah.
I think the problem is Trevor Lawrence is playing so badly. I'm not sure they'll want to trade away Mac Jones.
Dude, they paid Trevor Lawrence $1 trillion. But they're not benching him.
But have you seen how bad? It
I
does
have.
not look
And guess
good.
what? They paid him $1 trillion.
Mac Jones was not having fun the other night on Monday night.
No, he wasn't. But that was. I mean,
here's what I think.
He came in and mop up duty in the middle of a blowout. Like nobody in the Jacksonville Jaguars sideline was having fun that night.
Game was a bloodbath already.
Here's the grand strategy of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think is you go to the Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve leader, and you say, hey, buddy, Mr. Powell, could you please print us $1 trillion so we can pay off Trevor Lawrence and get him off the team? And then I think you're good to go with Mac Jones.
I mean, that sounds like a David Tepper type move. I mean, maybe you want to talk to the Carolina Panthers about that.
But they didn't pay Bryce Young $1 trillion.
No, they just used the first overall pick and traded all their picks away to get him.
Yeah, that was perhaps one of the worst picks ever.
Let's not do Bryce Young just yet because Andy Dalton, as much as I want to talk about Andy Dalton, and trust me, I want to talk about Andy Dalton, we have other stuff we want to talk about right now a little bit more.
We'll wait till next week.
Tyler, tell me a little bit about your New England Patriots matchup against the 49ers of San Francisco.
I don't think it's going to go very well for us.
No?
The 49ers were winning against the Rams, and the Rams effected this pretty huge comeback. Pretty surprising, honestly, that they managed it. And I don't think they're going to be very happy. I don't think they're going to be very nice. I think they're going to be very physical, and I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be very upset, and he's going to want to set an example. And Jared Mayo's a pretty new coach, and Kyle Shanahan's pretty good at the whole designing plays thing. I just think that we're going to get run over.
Offensive plays designs?
Yeah. Yeah, the runs.
The runs.
The runs. Always the runs. That's my
the Patriots are going to get the runs.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's how I describe it because, sometimes the runs is like, maybe you're getting points if you're getting the runs. Because there's a lot of splattering, and eventually some of those end up in the end zone. But yeah, no, I just don't see it going very well. I think it's going to be kind of a miserable game for us.
All right, over under the same score, like a 3-touchdown loss, the same way the Jets did it, or?
I'd take the under of 3 full touchdowns. Like maybe we'll score a couple of field goals and it'll be like an 18-point loss.
Okay.
Which I think is respectable. I also don't think that I also don't think that our offense is up to the task in any game, but especially not this game.
Okay. Over under the number of snaps Drake May takes.
I'm just gonna take I'm gonna just say I hope it's 0 and leave it at that.
Okay. That's
So,
very
yeah,
respectable answer.
There's
Hope.
just not much to be done.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about the
you
New York
feeling?
Jets matchup. We are facing the Denver Broncos, who are unfortunately not starting Zach Wilson. We will be facing the inimitable Bo Nix. How am I feeling about that? I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling just fine. I will say the Broncos defense had a lot more life in them this week than they've had up to this point. But I do think this is our third preseason game in a row. We're going to beat up on the Broncos. This is still a get-right game for us. I want to see the offense continue to click. I want to see us score at least 3 more touchdowns, if only because I don't know that our offense has scored 3 touchdowns in back-to-back games since maybe Rex Ryan was the head coach. It's been a long time. I don't think we've been able to do that in back-to-back games in a very, very long time. And I think Rex Ryan has had very few back-to-back wins in his entire career. That's one thing that Rex Ryan was really good at, psyching or getting the team all gassed up for a game, and then the next game just letting down, just taking a giant – just so you're talking about the runs, but on the field.
Well, I'd like to think more he went to Spain and he kind of got into the idea of siestas. And then sometimes those siestas would just happen during games.
He would get the team fired up. They'd have great games, and then all of a sudden they were just not playing very well the very next week. Like it was very hyperbolic. I'm expecting this to be not too big of a challenge for us. This Broncos team is not great. Bo Nix, I think, is actually genuinely terrible, and there's a possibility he gets hit so hard he winds up. Zach Wilson does wind up playing at some point. But that's it. That's the way I expect that matchup to go. I want to see more Olu Fashanu. I want to see more rotation along the defensive line. I know JJ is hurt, but you couldn't even see it. Will McDonald had 2.5 sacks last week. He had 3.5 sacks the week before that. That dude is running wild right now. I would like to see 2 or 3 more of those against Bo Nix. That'd be sweet. I think this team right now has 17 sacks on the year in 3 games. We are leading the NFL, I think, right now in sacks. This is the most sacks that the Jets have started a season with since the sack exchange in 1984, which, just so you know, I was born in November of 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't even alive to see it.
I was.
Next time up, you can tell us all about it. If you remember it at all, Jessica.
Mark Gastineau is the name that is coming to mind.
I have that jersey. I have the Gastineau jersey.
Yeah, and they were good. I remember one year the Jets started off 7-1.
Yeah.
And then they didn't make the playoffs.
Okay, you didn't have to finish with that part. Gastineau seems like he's your type, though. You look like in the 80s you liked him with long hair and muscles.
No, I liked him with the short hair much better.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so disappointing. You look like you were totally into Motley Crue or something.
Yeah, I was more into the Police, if I'm going to be honest.
Really? Sting?
Do, da, da, da.
Yeah.
All you have to say to me? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Also, I just want to say, Jessica, any statement that you make that's positive about the New York Jets in any way, it is customary to say, but, and then a worse.
Which I did.
Yeah. No, welcome to the show. This is what it's about.
So when are you guys going to catch up to the Indianapolis Colts for AFC East wins? Titles, I mean.
That's a good question, Anthony. Do you think you'll do it this
year? You guys are stuck at 4 for 30 years now?
Yeah,
and the Colts are at 6.
Hold on. Before we go too crazy about this, we did have one sometime in the 2000s. Okay. And by the way, nobody won the AFC East except the New England Patriots for 20
You got it in 2002. Yeah, you did get it in 2002.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, that was pretty recent for, another team in the AFC East,
I'm done with you.
I mean, it's kind of far away, actually. If we were in 2019, it would have been recent, because in 2019, it would have been the Dolphins in 08 and, Yeah, actually, the last time the Jets won the AFC East, Anthony, I was not born yet.
Yeah, exactly.
the Jets' futility is older than my life,
Yeah, your life,
and it will remain so.
And I believe the Colts stopped playing the AFC East in 2000.
Yeah, it's when they did the realignment. They did a
It wasn't two
realignment
again. It was 2002.
in
Actually.
2000. They moved the Seattle Seahawks into the NFC from the AFC because they were introducing the Houston Texans.
Yep.
And they didn't want two Texas teams in the NFC. And I believe the owner of the Seattle Seahawks, who was Paul Allen, who was one of the Microsoft founders and possibly one of the greatest NFL owners. He's one of the nicest owners, famously nice guy.
And he's passed away, isn't he?
What's that?
He's passed away.
He passed away. Yeah. He's a really big philanthropist, super nice guy. One of the few owners that was like really beloved by the players. And also around the same time that the Jets had their last good owner, that was Leon Hess. We've been stuck with Woody Johnson for 20 plus years, and Woody Johnson is the reason Bill Belichick left. He hated Woody Johnson. So thanks.
I love Woody Johnson. He's done a lot of good things for the Patriots organization. And I hope to see him live long and prosper.
I have a friend that works for the New York Jets, and we're getting towards the end of the show. But if you want, I can tell you guys a little bit of a story about Woody Johnson. Would you guys like to know an inside baseball stories about Woody Johnson?
Sure.
It'd be hilarious.
Okay. So Woody Johnson, I don't know if you guys know this, was the ambassador to the United Kingdom under Donald Trump. So he spent 4 years over in London being the ambassador.
You must have been happy about that.
Yeah.
He was gone.
Yeah, he was gone, but his brother's kind of I don't know, his brother's not that bright either. Anyway, so Woody Johnson was over in the UK and then he was the ambassador, whatever the hell that is, to the United Kingdom. And under that time, he came back after the Trump administration. And so my friend now works for the Jets. He's worked there for under a year now. And so they invited some guest speaker to come in. And the guest speaker, every single time that he referred to Woody Johnson, he just kept calling him Mr. Ambassador. My friend leans in, because obviously not the ambassador anymore. My friend leans in and he's like, Why did he pay him money to refer to him as Mr. Ambassador? No, Woody loves that stuff. Whenever anybody refers to him, they want him to call him Mr. Ambassador.
I can understand if you're a secretary of the government or the president or vice president, but not ambassador.
No, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, no, he is an ambassador. He's an ambassador
for
sports ownership. For sports ownership, you know? He's an ambassador in terms of how to run a team really badly and how to make all your fans hate themselves and you. And I think that's something that people don't cherish a lot these days. But we really should be trying to get some certain teams to really like that. And one of them is the Jets, so I applaud him.
Yeah. No, more.
All right, time to wrap it up.
I have one question.
Call it a day, guys. Listen, if you like what you've seen, go ahead, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Jessica, it's been phenomenal. You are welcome back anytime you want. You bring elegance and grace to the show, and you're a hell of a lot of fun to talk to.
Well, thank you. I'd love to come back sometime when Brett and Jake are busy, and that's the only reason why.
Brett can be busy a lot.
Okay,
you're welcome. Tyler, buddy, I have no sympathy for you. You deserve everything that you get this year.
Hey, it's fine. We have 6 rings. When was the last time you won a championship in New York? Was it 1963?
It was a really famous one.
It was the year I was born.
So, I mean, that's not that long ago, really, in the grand scheme of things, I guess. But
not in geologic terms.
55.
Yeah.
55 years ago.
Well, it's not as bad as being a Buffalo Bills fan.
No, it's not. Keith, my man.
We hate winning the division for the last 4 or 5 years. It's just been.
Sorry, how many times have we won a championship, though? That's kind of the bar here in the AFC East. It's a good season if you win a championship.
We have won 4 AFC East, and we've actually won an AFL championship.
AFC.
Technically, we do have a championship.
Did you get a Lombardi trophy for that?
AFL, never heard of her.
We have so many Lombardis in New England that Gronk used one as a baseball bat. That's how many of those we have.
All right, guys. Before this goes off the rails, Keith.
Yes, sir.
How you feel, my man?
I'm good. Looking forward to Monday night against the Titans. Looking forward to another week of football. Looking forward to Thursday when we're going to get back to our pick show, Anthony.
For sure.
And looking forward to tomorrow night when I'm going to be doing the show on my channel, The Fins Forecast. So if you like what you saw there, if you like what you saw tonight, you'll hopefully like what you see tomorrow night at 7:00.
You'll be agreeable to what we do at 7:00 tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it here. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much for tonight.
Have a good night.
Ends up.
Go Bills.
Take flight.
I want a higher draft pick.